Tracy and I were chatting with some of our speakers backstage. We're super excited to intro you to three very, very special voices that are going to lean us into what would it look like if we really want to serve this community well. How do we bring in different perspectives, have empathy for these different perspectives, and what does that look like, and how does that change the way we engage in our work? So Tracy and I have three very, very special people to introduce you. First, we're going to hear from innovation specialist Chena Payne about her experience with the SimLearn Clinic, that Tracy gave a little teaser of earlier. So we'll hear a little bit about Chena's experience with the SimLearn Clinic. Next, we'll hear from Kayla Joseph, who is working to provide better care for marginalized populations, and specifically how to work with and bring voice to the trans and non-binary communities. And then lastly, we'll hear from Matt Raleigh about how veteran service organizations can really help us reach veterans who may not currently be in our midst, who may not be currently part of the groups that we are connected to. So we've got three really incredible speakers here. I'm super excited to kind of close day one here with them. So if you could please give a very warm welcome for our first speaker, Chena Payne, to kick things off with IEX Talks. Please, warm welcome.
Yay, Chena.
Good afternoon. This talk is going to be a little different. I would like to lead the group in an experiential exercise. So if you are able and willing, please close your eyes and follow me. I want you to connect to a time in recent memory that you would consider to be one of your happiest moments. I want you to go beyond basic things like who was there and where you were, but truly connect to the feeling and the emotion that you felt. Are you excited? Butterflies? This may have been a milestone, anniversary, or birthday. Welcoming a new family member or child, watching Netflix uninterrupted, or maybe just a sweet visit with your grandmother. I want you to really connect in that space. Feel those feelings. Rest in that. All right, now come back to me. Open your eyes, please. It's incredible how strong and powerful the mind is. Despite being here in this auditorium, you were able to immerse yourself mentally in that time and space. You saw those faces, you felt that emotion. Some of you are still smiling, which is great. My name is Chena Payne. I'm one of the project managers at SimLearn, based out of Central Florida. But the wonderful thing is, the SimLearn Innovation Center for Education, AKA SLICE Network, affords us an opportunity to connect with so many talented individuals and professionals located throughout the country. Earlier this year, I had an opportunity to attend the SLICE Simulation Showcase, in which I was able to connect with professionals out of our Cleveland base, to include simulation program manager Tracy Ashworth, Julie Lee, Stacy Prosser, and Violet Darden, in collaboration with our learning management team out of SimLearn, who are highlighting a specific initiative focused around dementia patients. Now let me tell you, I know it sounds a little sullen, but let me tell you what went down this day. The team was able to create an immersive environment that was chock full of hindrances and obstacles that those that suffer from dementia experience every day. They fed audible disturbances into our headsets. Visual impairments were applied to our eyewear, and our limbs were not off limits neither. Knee braces, immobilizers were put on our legs. They tethered our fingers in awkward combinations. They even applied a nuisance to our footwear so that every time we took a step, we wanted to kick one of them. It was just not comfortable. And what was the point of all this? To enter into a space and complete 5 basic tasks in a limited time successfully. Now, under normal circumstances, we would knock this out with ease. But when you introduce some of these obstacles, as you can imagine, it wasn't that simple. And we're talking basic things like applying your clothes to a hanger, pairing your socks, identifying your medication. So many that suffer from dementia experience this routinely. This level of empathy that was achieved, just another level. And we're not talking about impacting just clinicians or administrative folks like myself, but think families and caregivers and anyone else in the veteran sphere of care could stand to benefit from this experience as well. I found this not only groundbreaking in its approach, but it also puts into perspective that not everything requires high-level circuitry, power-on buttons to be considered innovation. Now, it would be fantastic to deploy VR and AR and other high-level systems across the country to include the support and resources necessary for the upkeep of such things. But here is a definite starting point. The team out of Cleveland was able to compile a number of items that any of us could find at your local hardware store, GSA Access, or even at home. Identify a space for such an experience, and your immersive environment is right there. I find this to be a wonderful way to bridge that gap for locations that are looking to introduce an immersive environment to their area at a fraction of the cost, but with tremendous impact. I'd like to get a little personal, if you don't mind. My grandmother suffers from dementia. She was an educator, like many of my friends at Simler. She's a superintendent for special education in the county that I grew up in, AKA she was my hero. Recently, she took a fall that exacerbated her condition. Needless to say, I was highly reluctant and apprehensive to visit her. But I must admit that going through this experience afforded me a newfound understanding and respect for her condition, which allowed me to create a wonderful, happy memory despite the circumstance of her condition. So with that, I would like you to please take out your phones, snag this QR code, and learn how you can bring this experience and so many others that are within our portfolio to your location so that we can all improve on delivering excellent veteran care. Thank you all so very much.
Hi, everyone. I'm just going to take a quick minute to get the slide up. Okay, perfect. Hi, everyone. I'm thrilled to be here with you today to talk about an area of innovation that is very near and dear to my heart as a queer and non-binary psychologist in VA, innovation related to comprehensive gender-affirming care. The Comprehensive Gender-Affirming Care Center at the San Francisco VA healthcare system was launched in 2017. We launched this clinic as a multidisciplinary effort to improve the health care of trans and gender diverse veterans throughout the San Francisco Bay Area. And in fall of 2020, we expanded our care to offer some of those services to veterans throughout VISN 21. Now, you might be thinking, fall of 2020 is kind of a strange time to be expanding specialty care. We were dealing with a global pandemic. But this was an optimal time for us. We had already been offering telehealth long before the pandemic, and we were well equipped to continue doing that. This was also already part of our strategic plan. And we knew that there was a clear need for this kind of care. Let's spend some time looking at that need. I'm going to ask you to do another imaginal exercise. This one isn't exactly meant to bring up pleasant emotions, so I encourage you to opt out if that's not something that you want to experience. If you do want to join me in the exercise, I invite you to close your eyes if you feel comfortable, or to focus on the spot on the floor or somewhere else in the room. I want you to imagine that you're walking into a clinic, wherever you usually get your own care. You're nervous. You have something to talk to your provider about. Something that's big. It could change a lot of things in your life. And you're nervous that that provider isn't going to know how to answer your questions. As you walk into the waiting area, you notice that no one really looks like you. You feel very out of place. Some people are staring. And you could swear that somebody was pointing and laughing when you walked in. You walk up to the front desk to check in, and the person at the front desk greets you, smile, friendly, but they use the wrong name. You politely correct them. They continue to use the wrong name even after they've apologized. You finally get in to see your provider, and they do their best to reassure you and answer your questions. But after a few minutes, it's clear that they don't really know much about the topic you brought up. You leave the appointment. Your questions are still unanswered. And you're still nervous. In fact, you're more nervous than when you walked in. As you exit, the person at the front desk says goodbye. And again, they call you by the wrong name. This ends the exercise. This is what many trans and gender diverse people experience when they seek health care. According to national survey data, 23% of trans and gender diverse adults report not seeing a doctor when they needed to. 33% reported that at least one negative experience was had when seeing a provider. And of the 78% who reported wanting gender-affirming hormone therapies, only 49% ever received it. That data was from 2015. This is even more critical now, as trans and gender diverse rights are under threat across the US. In just 2023 alone, 583 anti-trans bills have been introduced in 49 states. That is more than 3 times the amount introduced last year. Many of those directly target healthcare. And 36 of those proposed bills are national bills, meaning if they passed, they would impact all of us, including those of us in VA. Transgender and gender diverse people, including trans and gender diverse veterans, are refugees right now in their own country when trying to seek care. My community describes this as an attempted genocide. It's a big word I just used. I promise you I don't use that word lightly, especially with everything that's happening in our world right now. I use that word because it is a lived experience of myself, of many of my staff members and trainees, and of many of my patients. The reason that we use this word is because we know that lack of access to care is related to suicide risk. 81% of transgender adults have thought about suicide, 2.3 times the rate of cisgender people. 42% have attempted suicide, that's 4 times the rate reported by cisgender people. And research suggests that suicide risk is greatly reduced when we have access to gender-affirming care. That means the risks are systemic, and the solutions need to be systemic as well. That's why San Francisco VA and CGAC chose to participate in a local greenhouse, an industry collaboration with San Francisco Bay Area local startup that already was familiar with enhancing access to mental health care. We recognized that we were unique as a clinic. We were a clinic of experts that also was made up of many folks who do identify personally as trans and gender diverse. And in VA, we can offer care anywhere to anywhere, but we are small staff, and like everyone else, we have a fixed budget. So we needed to find ways to offer more care without necessarily increasing staffing. Which leads us to early concepts and prototypes. Now, our early concepts and prototypes, I want to be clear that our industry partner was wonderful. They were extremely collaborative. However, we were focused on linear solutions, and linear solutions don't always work for this population because, as I mentioned, these stressors are constant. They aren't things that go away. Also, our identities are different. Sometimes we change our names and our pronouns. Sometimes the language we use to describe ourselves changes. And the initial prototype, especially the AI in that prototype, didn't fully address that. So we rejected the first prototype. We said that's not going out to veterans. And we had to go back to the drawing board. When we did that, we got a lot more creative and a lot more collaborative. Our industry partner brought folks to the table who were more familiar with nonlinear approaches to care, and we were much clearer as a clinic about what we wanted. Once we saw what we didn't want, it was a lot easier to tell them what we did want. Now, this isn't the actual app. We can't show you the actual app at this stage in the project. But this is representative of the real app. And what we saw in this next prototype was nonlinear treatment embedded, more inclusive because it relied less on stereotypes, and there was a clearer case for the AI that was being used. This is an example of some of the feedback that we received from veterans. Feedback was overwhelmingly positive about the design and the usability of the app. What feedback focused on were some things that are going to feed into our lessons learned. Lessons learned included a few things. First, diversity of voice matters. It is important for diverse voices to be at the forefront of the project from start to finish. The reason being, if we didn't have trans and gender diverse staff as part of this project from its initial design and concept, we would have had that prototype that was inappropriate to go out to veterans going out to veterans. 2, AI is really exciting, but it has to be responsive to diverse identities. In particular, our veterans commented on it needing to be able to address race and being able to address neurodiversity, things like autism and ADHD. Safety and customization also were incredibly important to our veterans. Safety and privacy, not only with regards to data and how the data was being used, but also with regards to that customizability, that ability to change name, that ability to change pronouns, that ability to change the way that they describe themselves to others. And then 4, we need to share that learning widely. That's why I'm here, to be able to share those hard lessons learned with all of you. We don't just need CGAC doing this work to diversify innovation. We all need to be working to diversify innovation. Thank you all for attending this talk. Unfortunately, I have to get on a plane early tomorrow morning, so I won't be around for most of the conference, but I would love to connect with folks for the remainder of the day, and you're welcome to reach out to me over via email or Teams. Thank you again.
It's hard not to do that to the beat. It's 120 beats per minute. It's in my soul. Kodak, Blockbuster, Nokia. Just 3 names picked from an ever-growing cohort of businesses that failed to appreciate the ever-changing nature of their market landscape. At the heart of this failure is the misconception that an organization's prior success is an indication that it will inherently continue to understand its customers' evolving needs. But of course, you'll not make the same mistake. You're a forward thinker, a healthcare professional with countless hours supporting veterans through their healthcare challenges, and this has equipped you with the insights necessary to design the most effective, innovative products and processes to meet the needs of the veterans you serve. Yeah, okay. But what about the veterans you don't yet serve? You know, VA estimates that a little less than half of recent era veterans do not receive health care through VA. A little less than half. Knowing that VA strives to provide the best care for all veterans who qualify, who can speak to the needs of veterans who don't currently get care with us? And who will speak to the value of your shiny new innovation when the time comes to consider it on the national stage? Well, you're in luck, veteran healthcare innovator, because there is an entire community of what are called veteran service organizations that cultivate an expansive membership of millions of veterans, many not yet engaged with VA care, and who have considerable influence as they regularly advocate on veteran issues to Congress. These veteran service organizations, or VSOs, are willing and able to collaborate and champion VA healthcare innovations that best meet veterans' needs. And over the next 5 minutes, I'm going to show you how to get started forging a partnership with these passionate and powerful organizations. My name is Matt Rowley, and as the community builder for VHA's innovation ecosystem, I'm focused on finding and deepening the partnerships that enable VA innovation to flourish. I'm an Iraq combat veteran, a VA patient, and I've spent the last 13 years of my life proudly serving with the organization that helps my veteran sisters and brothers overcome challenges like the ones I experienced after returning home from war. I spent almost half of my VA career as a patient experience professional at the medical and later at the VISN levels, harnessing veteran satisfaction data and testimonials to better understand veteran pain points and pleasers that lead to meaningful change. And so I understand just how crucial it is that VA navigate the path forward using the voice of the veteran as its North Star. My experience in the field of patient experience within VA has shown me that while we continue to do a better and better job of incorporating the so-called voice of the veteran in decision-making, those veteran voices typically do not extend beyond the four walls of the VA Medical Center. Instead, we focus almost entirely on the veterans currently receiving VA health care. Now more than ever, it's critical for VA to understand and even anticipate the needs and challenges of veterans that do not utilize VA health care, because we must become and remain those veterans' provider of choice as well. VSOs reach the veterans that remain beyond our VA walls. Let's dive in to get a better understanding of what these veteran organizations do for veterans. Believe it or not, there are over 42,000 military and veteran support organizations in existence today. 100 of these are formally recognized by VA. That's an incredible number. The largest among them are called the Big Six veteran service organizations, and you've probably heard many of these names: Veterans of Foreign Wars, Disabled American Veterans, the American Legion, Paralyzed Veterans of America, AMVETS, and Vietnam Veterans of America. Nationally, these organizations are represented in Washington, D.C., and have robust advocacy offices that include legislative staff, experts in health and benefits, as well as communication specialists. Post-9/11 veteran empowerment organizations like Wounded Warrior Project, Student Veterans of America, Travis Manion Foundation, Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America, and others have also emerged as highly engaged advocates for a new generation of veterans. These organizations have the ear of congressional lawmakers who rely on them to gain an understanding of the challenges that veterans face and how to best meet veterans' needs. These organizations want to work with VA because they're passionate about making veteran healthcare the best that it can be, and because they want to show their members that they have a hand in helping to forge the future of VA. These are willing partners. So how do you get them involved? Recognizing the tremendous value that veteran service organizations can provide to VA innovation, we've developed a couple of resources to get you started engaging veteran service organizations in your innovation work. First, the Engaging Veteran Service Organizations Playbook, which you can check out at the link here. This provides excellent baseline knowledge on the VSO community and some of its largest organizations. Bookmark this link, make sure you check this out. Then, when you're ready to start reaching out to the local posts and chapters of these veteran service organizations, we've created a VSO engagement toolkit that will give you practical tools such as templated communications, and that'll make it simple to start the conversation with VSOs about what's going on at your medical center, VISN, or program office. We designed the toolkit this year using input and feedback from our community of VA Medical Center innovation specialists, because VSO relationships are so valuable at both the national level and at the facility level, and no one knows local health innovation better than our VHA Innovators Network innovation specialists. How do you get access to the toolkit? If your medical center is a member of the VHA Innovators Network, reach out to your facility's innovation specialist. Do it this week. Let them know you'd like to get involved with their VSO engagement efforts. They would love to have you on board. If your site is not a member of the Innovators Network, or if you aren't sure, email the VHA Innovations Ecosystem Community Engagement Team right here at this email address at the bottom of the screen, and we'll get you access to the toolkit. Now, we all know that VA is uniquely suited to be the engine for healthcare innovation in America, by virtue not only of its size as the nation's largest integrated healthcare system, but also its prowess in medical research and extensive affiliations with top-tier academic institutions nationwide. But in order to realize that future as the engine of healthcare innovation in this country, we must harness key partnerships like the ones that we have in veteran service organizations to ensure that we're meeting the needs of our current and future customers, the ones that lie beyond the four walls of the VA Medical Center. When we innovate with knowledgeable and powerful external partners like VSOs, we are equipping VA to lead healthcare innovation in this country. And your work strengthening that partnership today can make all of us that much stronger tomorrow. Come and join us. Thank you.
Well, thank you for showing up, for the open communication, for the authenticity over these last couple days. Part of what we want to do as we close our time here on day 3 is to really shine a bit of a spotlight on some really amazing initiatives and efforts that are happening within this community. And so to start off today, we're going to kick off with 3 IEX talks, 3 really wonderful humans that I'm excited to introduce you to here shortly. We're going to hear first from Catherine Beckner and learn about some of the culture change efforts that she's leading at the VA Richmond Medical Center. Then we're going to hear from Joseph Beadle about some of the individualized care and approaches that they're doing over at OAM, which we've heard a little bit about over the last couple days. And then finally, we're going to hear from Susie Shirley, who's the Director of Community Engagement over at IE, about how they're changing the landscape of VA home care services. So we've got 3 really incredible talks to kind of start our time here together. So please, can we give a very, very warm welcome for Catherine Beckner.
Permissionless innovation. In this world we all work in and are part of, we've all heard the phrase permissionless innovation. It's the phrase that encourages us to just do it. The idea that we are all encouraged to innovate, to discover, to experiment safely to bring about change, and in our case, to advance healthcare for veterans. What could be a better motto? And while this phrase may inspire, we can do more to actively empower our frontline innovators by building a true culture of innovation within the VA and throughout our medical centers. And let's face it, most of us here today are government employees. We have systems in place that require loads of permissions, and most of which, or at least some of which, are for good reason. And because of this, anything deemed permissionless may feel just a little too risky. My name is Catherine Beckner. I'm the Deputy Director of the Innovation Ecosystems National Center for Innovation to Impact, based out of the Central Virginia VA Healthcare System in Richmond. Our center, the Ideas Center for Innovation, was officially established in 2021. And while we've learned a lot and done a lot since our inception 1 year and 10 months ago, what I think we have done best and what I'm most proud of is the foundation we are laying to build a culture of innovation within our medical center, creating a movement to empower our frontline innovators. Have you ever experienced a problem at work and thought to yourself, there has got to be a better way? And in that moment, you began to think of and daydream about all the ways the problem could be solved or addressed? Of course you have. We all have. And I know that's especially true in this room full of truly brilliant problem solvers, clinicians, innovators, and leaders. Each day at VAs across the country, employees have sparks of ideas to solve problems and improve healthcare for veterans. And the employees who take the next step are our frontline innovators, like many of you here today. You, are the people who are intrinsically motivated to take action. But without a culture of innovation to empower these employees and support them in their journey, intrinsic motivation is not enough to sustain that innovative spark. And without a supportive culture of innovation, these employees are at risk of giving up. Not because they don't care, they do, but because there are too many barriers in the way. Their schedules are slammed, their colleagues are wondering what in the world are they doing, their supervisors question their productivity, and all of this may be just too defeating. I know this feeling so well because I myself am a clinician. I'm an occupational therapist by trade and at heart. I spent the first 10 years of my VA career working in spinal cord injury rehab before taking the leap into the world of innovation in 2020 when I started as an innovation specialist. Please know, I'm not here to give this room of innovators, leaders, officials, and experts the answers, but rather, I'm hoping to start a conversation. conversation through which we can use the collective brain power and action power of everyone here to build a culture of innovation throughout the VA and imagine the next steps for how we might all work together to support each other, our colleagues, our partners, and our frontline innovators in building this culture. So, what does it take to build a culture of innovation? We don't have the recipe down to an exact science in Richmond just yet, but we do know it takes a lot. And from my perspective, there are 3 key elements. 1, buy-in. Direct buy-in and support from medical center leadership. 2, time, and not just time, but protected time. And 3, recognition, a means by which our frontline employees see a place of yes in the VA, a place where they feel a sense of empowerment and like they are no longer a number without a voice in this large healthcare system. Starting with the first, direct buy-in and support from medical center leadership. In Richmond, our leadership has established innovation as a core pillar of our medical center, but their commitment to innovation goes much further. Our leadership makes an effort to show up and support our innovators in ways both big and small. Here's our executive director, Mr. Ronald Johnson, with a group of our frontline innovators at the Innovators Network Graduation Day event this past summer, where he not only served on a panel, but he cheered for each of the innovators as they walked across the graduation stage. But it doesn't take a trip to DC and an official photo to show support. Our assistant director, Dr. Tabitha Sierra, a veteran herself, writes handwritten notes to individually thank our innovators for their passion and vision in developing solutions for veterans. Could you imagine getting a handwritten thank you note from your assistant director? I'll tell you, this little gesture goes a long way and sits on Kate's desk to this day as a reminder of the work she is doing and the value it brings. Lastly, our leadership is willing to take risk. Not only the risk of investing resources, staffing, and financial backing into innovation, but the risk of investing in time. Which leads me to the second key element, time. And not just time, but protected time. No matter what your role is, I know, we all know, there is never enough time. Meetings are never ending. Clinics are always full. Patient care and access is the priority. And leaders, I know the last thing you want to do is create policies that may limit access and work against the national strategy of providing veterans with the soonest and best care possible. But how can we do both? How can we look at creating a culture of innovation and providing veterans with the soonest and best care as concurrent and not in conflict? How can we give clinicians permission for time? In Richmond, we've started by asking our frontline innovators, how much time do you need to make meaningful progress on your project? And we were surprised by what we found. Employees weren't asking for days or weeks at a time. Instead, they were asking for 1 day, 8 hours a month. So, what did we do? We took this information to our leadership and together established a policy that provides each innovator with 4 hours per pay period, 8 hours per month in protected time to work on their innovation. A policy that included permission for supervisors to remap productivity standards for these employees. And while we know this doesn't create more hours in the day or clear clinics, and it is just the start, it creates the first step of permission. Permission for supervisors to allow employees time to innovate, and permission for clinicians to step away from the never-ending clinical care and work toward the future of improving healthcare. This policy is an investment in the future of providing veterans with the soonest and best care possible. Lastly, the third key element to building a culture of innovation is employee recognition. Providing a way for employees to be seen and feel heard while being recognized along the way, to have a sense of psychological safety, and to feel empowered. In Richmond, we host an annual demo day to celebrate our innovators and all they have accomplished throughout the year. This is a chance for them to be recognized by their peers, their supervisors, and other medical center employees, and to showcase that innovation is a place where employees can make an impact. The feedback that we got from this event time and time again was that employees who participated and employees who attended left feeling inspired and encouraged. Feeling seen, heard, and recognized as an employee in our large healthcare system can be so challenging. We've all had times where we felt like a number in this system, but a primary goal of our Innovation Center is to be a place of yes and to provide an avenue for employees to feel empowered and see their voice in action. This does not mean we're saying yes to anything and everything that comes our way. We so wish we could be the place of yes for the 4-day work week. But it does mean we are a place where employees feel heard, feel a sense of psychological safety, and feel empowered to take action. And while this sense of empowerment may be one of the hardest elements to measure and value, it is arguably the most valuable. Because we know employees who feel valued at work perform better, they feel more fulfilled, and in turn provide the best care to our veterans. In closing today, I'm hopeful we can move forward together as one big 600-person team leading the charge for a cultural shift within the VA focused on frontline empowerment. Because we know veterans want to know we are a system of cutting-edge care and a place that is creating solutions just for them. And because we know it is a career highlight for those who experience the cultural shift. In the words of Dr. Melody Anderson, a spinal cord injury nurse, passionate innovator, and friend of mine, being in the world of innovation has allowed me to build kinship with like-minded folks, have an active voice within the organization, and given me opportunities I would have never fathomed in my 30 years of providing direct patient care. And for this, I'm much obliged. Thank you.
Morning, everyone. So, here to talk about OAM again. And on our first day, one of the questions that was asked by Spud was, what's it like being an innovator? And one of the things that he said is, feel like you get pushed out into the middle of nowhere. And one of the fun things about OAM is we get to talk about things very close to science fiction. So that's why I have the picture of the Foundation series book that's up. And show of hands, has anyone read the book? Okay, good. Not too many people, so I get to tell you what I want to about the book on it. But what happened there, the very truncated version of the book, is that someone came up, there was an innovation. What did they end up doing? They took the innovator and they put him from one end of the galaxy where everything was going on, the center, and then put him out to the outskirts of it. So much like innovation, that's how you feel sometimes. But similar to what happened in the book, they also sent the best and brightest, the best scientists, engineers, and artists out to assist with the project. And that's more where we live in the VA, because if you look around, one of the things for innovators is there's many areas you can go to, many people and many resources that you can reach out to. And the reason why I have the picture of Isaac Asimov is the recommendation from my staff is if we would have given the speech yesterday, I would have dressed up as him. So, where is OAM right now? And behind me you can see the 6 stars, and those are the hub sites that we have in place currently. These were developed through a series of MOUs with each one of those individual sites. Now you might be wondering what all those other dots are. Well, the OAM sites are the ones that have formal agreements in place, and the formal agreements allow us to produce products under the national program of the Office of Advanced Manufacturing. All of the other sites are where we have 3D printing capacity, and it's actually probably expanded. This is a little bit old on the pictures from it. So there's more technology that's out there that's not just at our sites. And what this is allowing us to do is really have impact across the United States, and with OAM being able to push out projects under the OAM name, there's plenty of other opportunities where we can expand out to via MOU and have production in other areas as well. So great example of what Office of Advanced Manufacturing does and how we've leveraged 3D printing to provide point-of-care manufacturing and patient-specific. What you see in front, and this was mentioned by Secretary McDonough as well, was our GeoStent project that was put together from the Charleston VA. And so the short version of the story is Michael Nicoletti was a veteran who came in and his ear canal was collapsing. His homegrown solution for that was to cut straws and put them in his ear so it would stay. There was an individual problem that was solved through the 3D printing and was given compassionate care use by the FDA so that we could actually create that device and put it in. And from that single individual, we now have a product that we are working with our Pittsburgh branch to actually be able to roll out to others. So a single veteran, N of 1, is now will be used for more patients out there in the world. Started by a veteran for a veteran, okay? Going from that single use case on these, we have our dental products. One of the things that we are seeing in 3D printing, specifically, but within the Office of Advanced Manufacturing, is the ability to produce things using that 3D printer, where instead of creating 10,000 of one product on those, that you'd be able to create one product 10,000 times going forward. What do I mean by that? You're going to be able to have things that have been used in an intraoral scanner. It's going to be patient-specific. You'll print it out on a 3D printer, and it'll immediately go to the patient, as opposed to the old where you had to take a mold of it. It was used plaster, then they would create it using resins, then they would shave it down for all of you who had to sit when you were getting fillings or anything else, and then the doctor say, okay, bite down, how does that feel? Shave off, bite down, shave off. It's not any fun. And so with the 3D technology we have and the scans we have, we're able to move through a considerable amount more product at a quicker and with a better product in the end. One of the other innovations that's patient-centric care is, as you can see up here, we have a 2D image. That's similar to what we get from the CT scans, MRIs, everything else that you have from scans. Our surgeons, our doctors are taking those 2D images and they're trying to translate that into a 3D image in their brain. And our chief of surgery from over on the Cleveland branch said, it took me years to learn the skills to be able to take those images that I saw from a CT scan and be able to, in my mind, turn them into a 3D image. Well, we can accelerate that training and that education for our doctors so they can see it almost immediately. The other thing we can do is when explaining the cases to the patients, you're able to go forward and give that patient autonomy and truly have informed consent by being able to show them, and I really like this one. This was, you can see there's an aneurysm in the hand. How much easier is it to explain to someone saying, this is what we've been able to scan, this is a 1-to-1 ratio of your hand, this is the surgery that we're going to perform. So with OAM and with the 3D print, what 3D printing allows us to do is really access our patients directly, be able to get them more informed, and provide better care. These devices will also, in complex cases, cut down on the amount of time that you have to spend in the OR and have a better plan, a surgical plan from the start. Radiation therapy bolus, just another one of those things that is 3D printed. Instead of having to have paper mache and things that are created for our patients, we use scans. And if you're going to have any kind of radiation or certain types of radiation therapy, you're able to take this 3D printed and specific, patient-specific, they put it on the face. It helps decrease the energy that eventually goes to the non-scientist. So when we're looking at these, all that's really doing is allowing the radiation to go where it's supposed to and not damage the surrounding tissue as much. And for our oldest uses was 3D printing. This is largely from our Richmond site, but in other areas as well. We use 3D printing to come forward and assist our patients who, either it's because of spinal cord injury, it's some sort of a clinical case that came forward that makes it so they don't have use of their hands as much. They're able to create devices that make it so that everyday living, it makes it easier and it's specific to the patient, as opposed to having to buy something off the shelf. And that's one of our major points, is that we are able to build what we cannot buy and have it be patient specific. So the last points I want to make about all of these things is, since it's an emerging field, one of the other things that we need is as many people as possible to be involved in the process. If you have an idea, we want you to come forward. If you are interested in being part of that, we use MOUs to reach out to those sites and be able to bring more folks under the OAM umbrella and really push us to the future, to the new devices that we haven't even thought of yet. So, and I'll end with a quick quote as well, and it's from Isaac Asimov on that, and it was in regards to computerization. He said that the vast change is needed in education. The nature of education needs to change. Folks need to learn how to use the technology that is available and to be able to exist within a high-tech world. So this is just one more tool that we have, or several tools that we have, on getting our patients used to the care, how it's received, and how we provide it. So please, if you can, go out, check out the booths that we have. You'll be able to see more of the very cool devices that we've got and hear from, we have engineers, we have the technicians, we have clinicians who all take part in providing this care, providing care to our veterans through advanced manufacturing technologies and 3D printing. So thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to be with you all here today and to introduce a novel VA pilot program that I believe will revolutionize home care services for veterans and their families everywhere. But not everywhere just yet. See, next week we're kicking off a multi-site pilot at select sites up and down the East Coast, geared to increasing home care services for veterans who qualify for homemaker home aid and caregivers who qualify for respite care. It's called the Tech-Enabled Home Care Respite Model, or TERM. But before I get into the juicy details of the pilot program, I'd like to tell you a story. And it's a story I think will probably feel familiar to most of you. Peter is a Vietnam veteran who has ALS. And for the past 2 years, he has relied more and more on his wife, Anne, for assistance at home. Now Peter needs 24-hour total care, and with all that Anne does to care for him, she has very little time to spend managing her own health and other life and family responsibilities. So when Anne needs to step away for a doctor's appointment, an errand, or their granddaughter's recitals, she works with the VA to arrange a home care aide to come be with Peter while she's away. But Peter hates this, and so does Anne, because they say, just when someone has been here long enough to know what needs to be done and how to do it, they leave the home care agency. And this is the case for so many Americans, as home care aides often leave their agencies in search of a living wage, either to another agency or to another profession entirely. I met Peter and Anne during the pandemic when the VA designed a respite pilot program in partnership with a military and veteran-serving organization, the Elizabeth Dole Foundation. And in this pilot, the Elizabeth Dole Foundation coordinated no-cost, short-term respite for military and veteran caregivers through a co-employer model funded by donors. This is when we started to wonder whether a model like this could work within the VA. So first, let's talk about who our caregivers are. There are about 5.5 million family and community members out there who are caring for ill or injured service members and veterans. This care often involves significant sacrifice, both personal and professional. And as many of you know, caring for a loved one can lead to burnout, with both short-term and long-term health implications. So support is needed for this population, and VA does offer a variety of respite and home care services and programs. But these programs are widely underutilized. Why? Well, access and trust are two reasons veterans and caregivers consistently cite. Labor shortages for home care agencies is a problem nationwide, not just for the VA, and even more so in rural areas. These labor shortages and low wages contribute to inconsistencies in care, and we know that inconsistencies in care affect trust. Many veterans report feeling uncomfortable with having a stranger in their home. So, what if we could empower veterans to choose who provides their home care, to professionalize those already providing support, and increase home care wages, all at a lower cost to VA? This is where the TERM pilot comes in. TERM is a collaborative pilot designed and implemented by both the innovation ecosystem in partnership with geriatrics and extended care, and with a community home care employer, CareLinks. See, back in April, the president signed an executive order encouraging VA to test this co-employer model. I'll tell you about what that is in a second. With 5 different sites, test a co-employer model of home care services. And when this executive order was signed, we were delighted because it meant that we would have a clear runway to implement this model that we'd already been preparing to launch. With the support of VA leadership, we will be able to determine if this co-employer model is as promising for VA as the research and our past experience with the Elizabeth Dole Foundation would suggest. So what is the co-employer model? It's a system where veterans can choose who they want to provide their care. They can choose from a community of already licensed and insured home care aides, or they can select family members, friends, or neighbors to be hired by this co-employer agency to provide these needed services. The co-employer agency, in this case CareLinks, will license, bond, and insure these new hires. They'll run background checks and provide comprehensive training and manage scheduling and payroll. So really, the veteran manages the home care aid selection, and the agency manages everything else. Also, similar to how you might arrange your Uber or Lyft home after the conference today, it can all be done online. This model improves customer satisfaction, trust, and access to the kind of care veterans and caregivers need right where they are. Something that has caught the attention of the White House and the attention of many congressional members is that this model increases home care aid wages. Because the administrative costs are lower and the home care aides are mostly identified by veterans and caregivers themselves, co-employers like CareLinks can offer a much higher hourly wage at a lower cost to payers like VA. With existing home care aid wage ranges averaging $14 an hour nationwide, we will see home care aides in this pilot paid at least $20 an hour. And regarding the cost to VA, existing home care agencies bill VA an average of $43 an hour nationwide to coordinate and manage home care services. And in this model, we will see lower costs to VA of approximately $27 an hour. The gap between what a home care aide is actually paid and the cost to VA will be significantly reduced. Next week, this pilot will launch at 6 sites across 4 VISNs. These sites are Washington, D.C., Nashville, Tennessee, Boston, Massachusetts, Manchester, New Hampshire, Richmond, Virginia, and Orlando, Florida. And over the next 9 months, we will obtain feedback from veterans, their home care aides, VA staff, and CareLinks staff. We will review metrics monthly, we'll analyze and compare cost data, and make formal recommendations to the organization on future implementation. So what does this model mean for Peter? More control, more freedom, and more dignity. During the pandemic, Peter had his neighbor Ray hired as his home care aide for just a few hours a week. He said that Ray was excited about the hourly pay and that he, Peter, felt good about being able to pay his neighbor a fair wage when asking for help. Anne enjoyed more time spent on her own self-care and participating in family activities. So you might be wondering, Sorry, that slide was supposed to be up in the last bit. Okay, you might be wondering how you can help, especially if you're not from one of those sites where the pilot will go live next week. So any enrolled veteran who needs help at home can learn more about VA's comprehensive home and community care services by visiting va.gov/geriatrics and clicking on Home and Community Services. They can contact their nearest VA social worker. They can call 1-800-MY-VA-411. And of course, if you are a service member or veteran in crisis or are concerned about one, call the Veterans Crisis Line at 988 and then press 1 for veterans. And for more information about this pilot program, please reach out directly to me at suzanne.shirley@va.gov. Thank you.